Welcome back to Winter Wolf's Den, boys, girls, and everything else in between along the way if you like that kind of stuff. King Z over there, Winter Wolf here. This is our shorter format show. We're calling it Winter's Wrath, Summer's Scorn, where we're going to put 20 minutes up on a clock for the Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 2, kind of hit you with the synopsis, a quick overview, and 3 talking points apiece. We're going to package it all up real neat and clean, then we're going to get the hell out of here and keep it all nice and tight. Now, having said that, King Z, what's going on, bud?
Hey, what's happening, man? Back here to do this show. Just got done watching it myself. It's been a long, crazy week. We'll talk about that on our live show based on when this drops tonight.
Yep, that's right. Last of Us, Episode 9, Season Finale, Season 1, tomorrow night. Going to come through around 10:15, 10:20 Eastern-ish. We're going to go live and discuss the final episode of Season 1. Probably lots of stuff to break down on that one. So we'd love to see you guys active in the chat and get a discussion going about that show. A lot of goods, a lot of bads, a lot of all in-betweens on that show for sure. But today we're definitely talking about Disney Star Wars Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 2. King Z, give me the synopsis, bud.
So the synopsis of this one is Mando is moving on to Mandalore to find the living water so he can relive his creed. We're following him in his adventures, and we kick it off pretty quickly in this one to get him back on track and more of Phase 1, which we'll talk about in our talking points.
Good, no doubt. No, you know what? Why don't you go first this week if you don't mind? Initial impressions overall. What did you like? Did you like Episode 2 more than 1? Is it about the same? Where are you at?
It's about the same. As I mentioned last week or the last time we did this, comparing the dialogue, as someone pointed out online, is much weaker than it was in Andor. I went back and showed my wife the Salzgar speech about what he sacrificed today.
Oof.
Like this is the level of stuff. You just see a drop off in quality on this one, and it's more exposition dialogue than anything. Everything's there to explain something else. It's never just dialogue to dialogue or dialogue to further a character. So, but overall, I mean, it's still Star Wars. It's still a space western. So it's all right.
True. I got a similar take. I think it's all right, and I'll draw the connection there the same way. You're talking about the terms of the writing and the Skarsgård sacrifice speech. That still gives me chills. Like, you just said it, and I was like, oh yeah, dude, I remember that scene being pretty badass. They were top to bottom tighter in that department with the writing wise. I think what I'm liking about this show so far is that, at least in terms of like the overall production value and cost, I can see this being closer to Andor. The sets here are good. The costuming is good. When we get down into Mandalore, I don't know how much of that's practically shot or green screen. It's probably all green screen, I would imagine, with very few physical set pieces on the bottom when he gets into like the combat and stuff that he gets into. But it just looks pricey, you know what I mean? And again, I'm going to do it because I'm going to do this every week with this show. Boba Fett and Kenobi were awful. They reused like the same abandoned, dusty bullshit with no creativity. You know, there was just nothing to that. At least there were things to look at here as he's going about his business, getting the quest back on track. So overall, it's Star Wars, but this feels really thin to me. I heard somebody one time call it a live action cartoon, and I think that's just the where I have to cap my expectations for this show. This isn't going to be a deep cut into a character story or a revenge arc or, you know, a rags to riches or any of these kind of traditional story templates that are kind of out there, like the master plots. This has the basic wolf and cub thing, but it's going to be very superficial through the end. I don't think they have any major emotional beats left to play because they already did like the separation of Din and Grogu at the end of episode 2, and we've already had the separation of Grogu and Luke Skywalker also. So I mean, unless they show Ahsoka something here, I don't get how this is going to be any kind of gut punch for the audience at this point, unless literally Grogu dies. Like, I don't know what other cards they had to pull. So yeah, initial impression, I wasn't bored, but at the same time, I'm not too terribly impressed. Not yet. So I guess we'll have to see what's going on for there. But why don't we get that clock up? 20 minutes. There it is. And King Z, point number 1. You're on the spot.
All right, point number 1. This, so far this season in 2 episodes, to include this one, is reminding me of a 90s version of an RPG game. So you have your initial quest given, and then you have all your little steps you have to go to. It's on rails, and you go through and you have little minor things you have to do, some people you have to talk to, and then you have to go fight a boss type character. So that's exactly what happened. He went, he talked to his repair friend who has Javas, and then they couldn't help him. She hustles him into buying something he doesn't need, but in the game version, you do need it. And then he goes on to his next point to try to accomplish his quest. He gets to the next wave point. He uses the thing he bought, and then it leads him into first fight, second fight, and then you have to bring in other characters. But yeah, this reminded me of a 90s RPG type style game.
Yeah, I feel that. And actually, my first talking point is kind of related. It very much feels like story on rails, like you said. It's that there's stories have templates because we have archetypes and we have, but this so far is really clinging to it. Like you said, it feels like it's just going to be one fetch quest after another. Like the MacGuffin here that he's seeking is the memory core for IG-11. At some point, it'll be the next thing, and at some point, it'll be the thing after that. And all the while, like I'm watching this go down, it's feeling like the world building's kind of suffering for it, because a lot of it doesn't stand up to scrutiny. Like he goes and he gets he buys R5, right? Because he needs an astromech all of a sudden to navigate, except he's already really good at that. And he needs R5 to do like intra-atmosphere investigations of the planet's surface, because for some reason in this world, that's not a sensor related thing from space where like they can scan for like life forms and like atmospheric conditions like Star Trek, even though we know they do this in Star Wars also. So the entire reason they needed R5 was almost as dumb as why he needs an IG-11 with a new memory core. Like it's not going to be IG-11, so why do you can't rely on this droid? And when you turned him back on, he tried to kill you. But the R5 thing I think has one level deeper, almost bordering on like insidiousness. Did you notice that R5, when he purchased him, used some of the speech that R2 did in A New Hope? Like there were a lot of the same beeps and whirs. And I think that was purposeful, like nostalgia bait to like make you be like, oh, okay, I recognize that sound. The same thing when he first employed him, and he puts out the technology spike tool and it jacks into the wall and then it kind of spins a couple of times. Like the shot there was exactly the shot that they used on the Death Star when he was scanning for like Leia and how to get the garbage compactor to stop. So I'm like, dude, like this is purposefully trying to make you think it's something that it's not. You know what I mean? So I was kind of like, maybe more intelligent world building would make it feel less like story on rails. So that'd be my first talking point to that. I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that before I jump you on to point two.
No, we're going to point two, and going off of that is the atmospheric. I would be probably the reason why you couldn't do a scan from space due to the fusion bombs they said that they did drop. So that could be, but I believe the astromech is a substitution for the other droid. Like he couldn't get that droid up. He needs a memory core. He can't find a memory core. And then she sells him this astromech. Like, okay, I could use this instead. Type. That's where that came in.
That makes sense. I have one more. I'd throw one more point off of that before we get into point two, just with the planet's surface and all that stuff from the fusion bombing. I didn't like that kind of doesn't hold up to scrutiny within the world either, though, because if it's, there's nothing stopping anybody from checking this planet out except the story that it's cursed, right? But anybody willing to, like, any willing pirate, salvager, scavenger, anybody could fly over and just see for themselves whether or not there was interference or not. And they never really, I don't think they cut deep enough into not giving a bunch of reasons why that nobody should go there. Like if they were telling me that the planet was surrounded by this hostile energy field or something that they couldn't penetrate to get there and look, like how I hate to cite the sequel trilogy having anything good, but at least Exegol at the end of episode 9 was surrounded by like space lightning that nobody could navigate through unless they had the specific jump points to get through it, like a labyrinth. Here it just felt like, all right, well, you told us we shouldn't go there, and so for like 40 years nobody did. Really? Like, all right. I mean,
it might have been throughout the Empire too, because the Empire is
maybe
completely in like, if anyone goes there, we will destroy you type.
I mean, fair enough. But again, this show is set after the sequel. Right. No, the show isn't after sequel trilogy. That's right. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I'd like more, and I think this is my criticism of these Disney shows, is that except for Andor, if this was 45 to 55 minutes long, they could get into some of this kind of stuff. But they're having to leave all of that out just to move this, like you said, on the rails to just get it from A to B to C to done. I think we're gonna miss out on that in the long run. But give me talking point number 2.
Talking point number 2, I would say that seeing the dartsaber come out in this one was pretty cool. Watching him actually use it, and then watching Bo-Katan use it. Bo-Katan, watching her use it, and then giving it back, sticking to that honor, because you saw he clipped it to the back of his belt after he was saved. So, showing that even though they believe that she's given up the oath and the creed because she takes her helmet off whenever she feels it and only puts it on for like combat or different types of situation, she still has the honor of
she's worthy
that it's his weapon because he's defeated the old owner, and now it's she only used it at a time of need, and then it was returned.
Yeah, there was some strong Excalibur Mjolnir vibes there for sure, with like her being able to pick it up and go to work with it, as opposed to his scene where like he was still struggling to like lift it, given whatever personal hang-ups he has, emotional baggage that's preventing him from using. So that was pretty cool. I did like seeing that. Let me ask you this based on that point. Do you think this show near the finale in the last couple of episodes actually has them two duel over it for like who actually is going to be in charge of the saber, and maybe reuniting the clans and bringing the army to bear together to recover the planet or something? Like, do you think that's coming?
Maybe not. I honestly, I can't get a feel of where this is going.
Okay.
Like,
true.
In the other 2 seasons, you could see almost where it was going, the build up.
Oh yeah, for sure. They had the whole Moff Gideon thing to contend with for 2 seasons. True. All right. For my second talking point, I'm going to do something similar that I do to Andor and pick out a character that just absolutely grates on my nerves, because I've mentioned this character before in some of my other stuff. The mechanic. I can't stand this character, dude. It's every time she shows up, it was like when the security officer's mother showed up on Andor. It just breaks, dude. Like locomotive brakes, screeching down the track, nails on a dude. She's so out of place in this universe, just based on how she talks. She talks like an American present day, but a part that was written for somebody who might be from like the 80s or 90s. Like there's just something wrong about it. Like all together, it's got this, they're trying to do this like blue collar, white trashy kind of thing because she's a mechanic and she's a grease monkey and everything. It's just it's the speech. And I've heard this actress talk. It's very much something she's doing for this show. Like that's not her cadence. That's not how she normally sounds. But every time she shows up, whatever humor they could have garnered from this doesn't track with me at all. And I'm like, ugh. Dude, go away. We don't need you to be the connection that he goes to see to find a droid part, Like, I don't know. Like, I wouldn't go to her to get a part for my laptop, you know what I mean? Like, there's got to be somebody else, another droid smith somewhere. I just can't stand seeing her. And the cream on the crop was when they're leaving, she's waving to them as they're taking off, and she says, "May the Force be with you." To who? To the Mandalorian? Because like that's not a thing for them. That was that for the audience, so we could say, "Oh my God, she said the thing," Because even Grogu wouldn't. I mean, Grogu would probably know that from Luke, but I didn't get the impression she was talking to him. Like she was waving up at the Mandalorian. They had just spoken words. She had just ripped him off and closed the canopy and like, "Oh, I can't hear you," and like they were leaving. So like I don't. It's just. That's like another bit of nostalgia baiting for me, and I'm like, no, I don't need this. Tell your story. Not everybody has to say the thing. She should have said, "This is the way." Like, would that not have made more sense for like what they're doing? I mean, it's almost cliched as that line is now, as the "May the Force be with you," like replacement line. But I can't stand her or any character like her in literally anything that isn't supposed to be present day, like Earth, America, Boston. You know what I mean? Like it's so out of place. It drags nails for me. That's what I mean. Like I just meant like from where I'm from. Like if you're telling your story there, fine. You can do all the fake bad accents you want, and I won't throw any shade at you. But every time one of these types of characters shows up, I'm like, no. Just be yourself. Be Boba Fett's normal speaking voice, the actor's speaking voice. Fine. Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan voice, fine. Like, just Hayden Christensen, fine. Like, name them all. Natalie Portman had shades of it where I was kind of like, oh, you sound kind of here, so I didn't really vibe with that all. But you know what I mean. And they're not anywhere in the neighborhood as bad as this chick or the security guard's mom was on Andor. I just can't. Not for me, dude. Not for me. Talking point numero 3 for you.
Talking point number 3, I did like there's 2 things I want to put into this talking point. There's 2 things I really enjoyed.
Yeah, you're good, dude. Yeah, double up.
So when Din gets captured, what did that remind you of as a kid?
I don't know. What do you think?
An antlion. To how it was laid in wait and then came up from the ground, grabbed him.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yep.
So, and if you ever play with an antlion hole, like you push it in and then you see the bug come up and grab it because it builds a little like tunnel type thing so it can't get out. Stuff you did as a kid. But that's what it reminded me of. But the hermit crab final bad guy was pretty cool. I thought that was a neat concept, how he just kept, like, he had the big version, then there was his body version, and then the little head came off as a little crab, and then it got back in the big version. Like, hard to kill. I believe he was taking the blood from the Mandalorian, like trying to rebuild his body. I think that's what it was, yeah.
I was getting General Grievous vibes from this character for sure. Yeah. From the prequel trilogy with like the loping around, like the complete T-800 skeletal limbs looking thing. Dude, for sure. Yeah, dude, that was good.
And then the other part was the part that shut up. I forgot her name already again.
Say again?
Starbucks character.
Bo-Katan.
Bo-Katan. That, like, she's there and she's like, you know, the whole time pretty much crapping on the myth, crapping on everything. Like, it was all for show. It's not real. Oh, I gotta give you the real tour and read the whole thing about like why they have, and then had like why they have the horn thing,
the symbol, the crest,
and then he falls into the living water, and then when they're coming up, the light hits, and that creature's right there in the water.
Yeah,
she's like, and you just see, like, even though she has a helmet on, you can tell by the facial, not facial expression, but the way she held
the body language. Yeah,
the body language, like, it's real.
Yep.
So I thought that was a really cool moment.
Dude, I didn't mind that at all because I feel like maybe that's obviously the scene that breaks her out of her funk and like reinvigorates her faith. She might not go full Children of the Watch cult like the Mando is, but like maybe she believes now again, and maybe she's obviously now going to go with him to do whatever comes next kind of thing. So it's definitely going to be the Bo-Katan Mando show going forward. And for my third talk, go ahead, dude. Yeah.
That's the part that I don't understand is like, what is next? So go ahead.
Yeah. I purposely called it the Bo-Katan and Mando show because I think I see where this is going, and I think that for all my attempts to not want to see, you know, the shuffling aside of male characters lately, I think it's going to happen here in this season. I think that this dude needed to be rescued by her not once but twice in this episode. If you want to look at it, he kind of comes across as a bit of a tool bag. After he initially defeats the 3 very low-level dungeon crawling thugs when they land in the first place, and he deals them pretty good. He takes his licks while he does it, which I like because nobody should be OP to the point where they walk out completely unscathed. Like, it's not supposed to be that. But this dude gets wrapped up by, you know, Spider-Bug and tells Grogu go back to Bo-Katan, ostensibly just to say to be safe or whichever, right? Which makes sense. I don't want the kid to get hurt. Wasn't expecting him to come back probably. But naturally the story needs us to be there. So she suits up and she rolls back out to go see him, and she saves him, and she does it in fairly badass fashion, uniquely with all the tools that she has, the tripwire and, you know, her own blasters. I'd like to point out that both of them are really bad shots in this series. They both had blasters at like short to medium range and couldn't hit anything in this one. And that's after episode 1 where like Djarin guns down the 5 pirates in the alley almost by himself in like 5 shots. So like it's when the plot needs it to be. They're apparently, you know, really bad marksmen. They're stormtroopers apparently, right?
Yeah.
And then she saves him again. Like, did this dude really fall off the edge of the lake, or did the mythosaur grab him and bring him down? Was there some tentacle action, like Fellowship of the Rings? Because if this dipshit just stepped off the deep end of a pool, he fell 400 feet and didn't hit his own jetpack. Oh, he took his jetpack off.
Yeah, he did a jetpack.
He didn't go in the water with the pack. But even still, I mean, so he sank like a stone because of the rest of his armor, I guess. I guess so.
He has that special armor that he got from his very first mission when he kidnapped
the Beskar. Right. Yeah. So I mean, am I to believe that he didn't test his footing and he just plummeted 500 feet down and she saved him again? And like when she gets down there, like he's not struggling against something, and I don't know, dude, it rubbed me the wrong way this time. It really just did. And again, I'm pointing out, I'm trying not to see it like that. We went through the entire Andor series where I was like, dude, the female spy is a badass. Mon Mothma's a badass in this show, so it's not, just like we had a couple comments the other day on the one of the other videos about not wanting to see women do stuff. I'm like, dude, go watch my other videos where I light up Jennifer Lawrence and let her know that she's not the first. I came across another one today that I even have to put on that meme. Celine from Underworld. Anybody? Did anybody think Kate Beckinsale wasn't a badass when Underworld was a thing? Anybody? No. Exactly. So we'll put the misogyny shit away once and for all with that particular comment. If you're out there, listener, who I called a dipshit, I invite you to review that source material as well. But yeah, it just seems like this is going to be, I think this is supposed to be a Bo-Katan show now, because she was up for a Favreau spinoff of her own. I think it was based on her core group of fighters that were with her in season 2. I think they're called like the Owls or something, or the Night Owls, something like that. But I think that show's been canceled. So I wonder if they're infusing some of the unused like ideas for that into season 3 of this, because really what else is there what other Mandalorian story is there to tell here besides him restoring his faith? But you could do that on his own without a sidekick other than Baby Yoda. You don't even need Baby Yoda to tell that story. Like, he could literally just be on his own questing to regain his faith and then return to the armor at the end of a season with all the, the 12 labors of Hercules kind of trinkets that prove he did what he had to do. But I feel like here we're definitely going to just veer off track and get into a bunch of other stuff for her, getting her fleet back and her palace back and all that other kind of stuff. We're still watching, because like I said, it's a short enough show to its credit that it can keep me engaged and just want me to see next week. But it's not long enough, I don't think, to get into anything I really want to see.
Yeah, so. And that was what I was trying to say, is like, what is next? Because the whole purpose of this was him going to the waters to bathe.
Yeah. Done.
He's done.
Done. And he has a witness. He has a credible witness that like Bo-Katan, who everybody knows his royal family couldn't go back to the armor and be like, oh, your boy went there and I had to save him twice because he fell to the bottom of the fucking lake. But here he is. He was there. Like, that would get sanctified in a hot minute, would it not? Like, you'd think so.
So
I don't know.
What is next? And is the whole hunt for the memory core done?
Yeah, but I think you were right. I didn't even think of that. It's that they've already now surveyed the planet. We don't need IG-11. So all that was all pointless. It was all rendered pointless by him going the other way and just doing the same, what I believe to be a non-issue, because they could have just probably rectified that whole thing from orbit. We can differ on our opinions if they had the tech for that or not, or why they couldn't, but you're right. It's like they're so on the rails now that if this mission's done, dude, this actually just popped into my head. Like, you had your epiphany the other week on The Last of Us. The rest of this show has to be Bo-Katan's journey now, to regain the saber, to regain the army, to retake Mandalore, to do something. Because remember, she's still fighting the Empire. She had her own little crew of guerrillas that hit their cruise liner and brought it down in one of the episodes in season 2. So I guarantee the rest of this show is her show, because they had to use up the Skywalker stuff, through the Boba Fett series, because that was so bad that they needed to inject other popular shit. Yeah. I think this is it, and fine, but that means he's a passenger in his own story, the same way Kenobi and Boba Fett became passengers in their own stories. They have like no agency. They're going to get led around by other people, and whoop-de-doo. Yeah, that's going to kind of suck. I had one little interesting tidbit that I don't remember if I shared this last week, so please forgive the boomer moment. Did you notice at the beginning, because I don't know, do you skip the opening sequences and all that stuff, or do you watch them through just to get the vibe out of the music and all that shit, like not the intro scenes, but like the credit roll?
I just tend to forget.
So I noticed that there, like when they show all the helmets that are all coming up at the beginning in that opening reel?
Yeah.
One of them's missing this season, because I went back and checked episode 1. You want to take any guesses? Do you remember who all's in that sequence?
I remember 3PO.
Yep.
That's the only one I really remember. Maybe R2.
3PO, the Stormtrooper, I think R2, Vader was in there, Boba Fett's in there, the Mandalorian helmet's in there. Kylo Ren, no longer in there. So, interesting. Was there all through season 1 and season 2. Not there right now.
They are talking about a reboot of the sequel trilogies.
Mm-hmm. We were just talking about this earlier with another friend. That is there some legitimacy to the rumors that the Ahsoka show will be utilizing the Veil of the Force concept to pocket universe Doctor Who style the sequel trilogy. That way it can still exist. That's not that it never happened, but it's locked away over here, and the original timeline of Anakin's redemption arc, for taking down the Emperor, is the conclusive final point that actually happened there, and then everything else can be its own thing and not crap all over that past. So I thought that was interesting, because changes to those kind of clips at the beginning of shows I hear require like top level sign off due to like branding concerns and things like that. So it wouldn't be like a design decision that a grunt like us would make on the ground.
Yeah, maybe the Star Wars version of Flashpoint.
Right. Exactly. So who knows? I guess that'll be an interesting wait and see for Ahsoka. I don't know when that's coming out, so I'll have to look more into that. It might even be later this year. But again, we have other news that says a lot of these Disney and Marvel projects are being pushed back, delayed. Ms. Marvel with a lot of reshoots going on right now, pushed into November. So who knows what we got there.
And that's the new CEO coming in, changing things.
Well, I think it might be him coming in and reading the tea leaves and the writing on the wall, being like, I don't know. We've taken a bath on Wall Street the last 2 quarters. They're talking about laying off like 7,000 people. They're talking about making less content but better content. So maybe it's just time to see just how much money these idiots left on the table by producing a bunch of crap and expecting it to go over, well with most people.
Are bringing in a loss for the first time in like a decade.
Say it again.
Their parks, Disney World and Disneyland, are bringing in a loss for the first time in decades.
Yep. Did you see the bit where that the what's it called, the Galactic Star Cruiser Hotel? They're restricting bookings by like 50%. That was like the premium hotel experience that opened up that was costing people $5,000 a night to go there and play Star Wars bingo, and have really like nothing on the scale of like what you'd expect from like a $1 billion company putting up a brand new park, which is really disappointing. But I think maybe times are changing over there given the last 5 years of them getting absolutely smoked during the pandemic, because the parks are where they make their money. They can take a couple of hits on Disney Plus, but the parks, that's the bread and butter. Dude, you got anything else, or should we bounce out of here?
I think, we're already over our allotted time.
Yeah, we got our talking points in though. That was just general discussion. That's what we're going to call it on that. We tried, whatever. We failed this week. We'll put a fail graphic up. We didn't get there this week. No big deal. There it is. All right. That guy's King Z. This guy's Winterwolf. King Z, I'll see you later. See you for Last of Us tomorrow night. Be there, everybody. Live stream, 10:20 Eastern.